Hi, men and babes. Welcome back to Owaji Has a Podcast. Wait, let me do the thing I learned. No, Gast. Hi, my name is Owaji, and I am podcaster in chief of this amazing thing that we are doing here. I think this is what episode 4 on YouTube. Screaming. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I was about to say I'm amazed at your glory. I'm not amazed at my glory. I'm not amazed at all at my glory. I'm amazed at just, the grace of God, lovely stuff, beautiful things. I was just would I say backstage? Is there really a stage? Behind the scenes, before we started rolling. I think I was paranoid because I'm like, I don't feel good enough I don't feel confident enough, like, I know all the things to say, da da da. And I was going through like a whole motion, which for me, my process is just like singing songs and just, remembering random stuff. So I remembered, this is very, I remember listening to the radio as a child, or I think as a secondary school student or something. And then this boy or something, this was like when the radio was still like really big, right? And this little boy was like, I wanna no, wait, this wasn't radio. I'm screaming, it wasn't radio. No, something was off. It wasn't radio. It was it was makeshift radio, but I had gone to a summer camp. Had gone to a summer camp in university in SS1. Why am I doing this? I'd gone to a summer camp in SS1, and it was like a whole IT type situation. Fun. I won a laptop from that thing, actually. That's summer camp. So it's called Digitest. I don't know if it still happens. And they used to like get students from like the different states and all of that, and then would choose a state to converge in for the year. Now, I'm telling you the whole story of how I joined instead of telling you what happened. Let me tell you what happened first. So I'm at Digitest camp, and we have like a makeshift radio situation, which really is just a booth with like speakers, because normally announcements were made over speakers anyway throughout camp. So then this little boy goes, and then camp has like 2 sections. There's like a 8 to 12, I believe, and then there's like teenagers. So like, I think, was it 13 to 18 or 13 to 16? I don't remember. And so this guy, right, little boy, is about 8, he was very small. And he goes to the radio booth, and he's like, because we could give shout outs. Nobody outside camp could hear our radio, so I don't know why people were giving shout outs to people at home. So this little boy goes and he's like, I want to shout to my mommy and my daddy and da da da. And then the radio host was like, okay, you want to shout, teasing him. He's like, you want to shout? Oh yeah, give them a shout out. And he's like, ah! He's like, ah! And he literally like screams on the mic. And I think he thinks they can, hear him scream. And I was like, that's such an interesting, I love children. I love the mind of a child. Very, very, very interesting. Very, very lovely. I feel like adulthood has robbed us. Like the idea of, and I know everybody says, oh, don't let your inner child die. It's not true. It's not true. When you are trying to keep your actual child from dying, sometimes your inner child will take the fall. When you are trying to pay bills, Jesus, these costs. It's cost outside. And, there's just something, like, so as kids, all we had to do was really just get knowledge. If you think about it, everything for us was getting knowledge. Our play was getting knowledge. We're learning the world by touching, by feeling, by just being exposed to new things. Like you meet your cousin during summer break or whatever, long vac from another school, and then they will teach you the games that they play in their school. And then you just, like, we used to we're so invested in games as kids. There's this game in my primary school we used to play, Wallomi. Wallomi it's basically like 10-10, but we had a whole song for it. And it had like maybe 5 or 6 different stages of the song. And then if you like, it's that one that, I don't know, you can't see my legs, but it's that one that you play with like your legs and stuff. And it had like different hand gestures as well. So if you play the same thing with somebody, then you switch turns and then they start their own. So it's like everybody will gather, and that's the investment. That's the investment of the afternoon. Sometimes it could be like a whole class, or at least all the girls in the class, like doing this while the boys were playing their boring football or whatever was happening. And you'll see everybody's memory sharp. Everybody's focus is there. Everybody's remembering, like, no, this is the exact part of the song you stopped. You stopped in Alaji Shewu Shagari. Girl, There were no stakes. There were absolutely no stakes. Like, there's no reason for us to have been that invested. And now I'm thinking about anything that I'm that invested in my life right now. I'm like, okay, is it bringing money in? Is it for the gospel? who is like, everything in my life is so like, oh, the reason for this is because it's like, man, the stakes are so high now. And unfortunately, like, it doesn't let you play as much. But I'm just like, be fine, we'll figure it out, 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 we'll figure it out. Let me go back to my story about like digitest and me winning the laptop, because that was cool. Um, it was very random. My cousins had come to, excuse me. My cousins had come to Abuja. Are they cousins? Are they family friends? I'm not even quite sure. And we hadn't, like, in fact, I personally, I don't think I'd ever seen them maybe after I was a baby. So our parents knew each other. You know, one of those associations like where it's like your parents knew each other growing up and stuff. So it's like there are now people that Adana, my daughter, unfortunately has to call auntie and uncle. Not because you see my uni friends, she's going to meet them and they're going to be like, well, we knew you before you were conceived, so it's fine. You are our baby. And she has no choice. She's going to be like, yeah. So that's how it was for me. So, you know, my uncle's kids had come to Abuja for this like camp and stuff. And then, you know, just because like my father was like one of the closest people that to their dad in Abuja, they came. This was maybe 2012. This was 2012. And so they came. And so my dad was just like, oh, let's go welcome them. You know, they're already in camp, but let's just go say hi. And then we go say hi. And then my dad starts asking questions like, okay, what's this camp about? And then he asks, you know, the facilitators. And they're like, oh, it's an ICT training, kinikon, teaching children animation. When trying to, my father was not used to use his ear and hear this one, that one skill, this one, that one future, this one, that one academia. That day, because we went to see them, it was already like early evening, late afternoon, early evening. Trust, we literally start signing registration forms from that evening. Like my father, there was no plan for us to attend. My father paid. Abi, did he pay immediately or he brought us back in the morning? But in the morning, to show you how unprepared we were, we had to go and start buying like toiletries and stuff from Sahat stores on the way. Like, we just left the house early in the morning, packed as many clothes we could fit into our boxes. Do we even have? It was so chaotic, you know. And then we came back, you know, what's it called? Yeah, sorry. We came back home, did that, then left in the morning, stopped by the store, bought whatever, and, you know, got to camp. And for somebody that didn't experience boarding school, for somebody that I didn't do much outside the house. My parents, my dad specifically was like really, really pro. I want my children where I can see them, you know, all that stuff. So we weren't really, so it was such a culture shock. Eh, eh, first, I was like, wait, there's like bare kids, like everybody's like, and this was like almost a 2-week camp. I think it was about 11 or 12 days. And I was just like, I'm not going to be home for this long. I get to like make friends. I mean, it felt adult. I don't know what it was. It just felt adult because even the facilitators were pretty young. So it just felt like everybody was so smart and everybody was so like vibrant and everybody was just so like cool and all of that. And we were wearing mufti. We were wearing uniforms. So secondary school students in Nigeria, that is the holy grail. So I went to Digitest with my braids, thank God, I'd already done holiday hair. Abi, did I? I think so. So, you know, went to Digitest. I was just a star. I was very quiet too. But for some reason, I don't know what, I guess I found my people. And then let's not talk about it. All these really weird, like, oh, finest girl, this one, blah, 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 blah. For some reason, people liked me and all. So it was like, okay, we're doing it. Me, I'm just going. Money, go. You collect food. You do. Okay, could we carry phones? I don't remember because I don't think we could. I don't think we could have phones at Digitest, but there was no reason to, because all the socialization is happening in real time, and you know, I met people from different states and all, and it was so cool. So about the laptop, somebody say favor over labor. I'm kidding. Please work hard. But I was in a group with a guy that had made it his personal vendetta to win. Like, a lot of people who came for the fun, not the competition. And there was like trainings every day, animation, kinikon, which, you know, it's just pretty simple stuff. But then this guy, because he had been in like the children's, he had been in like the children's one, the 8 to 12. So he had just turned 13 that year, and he had a personal vendetta. He was like, oh, there's this particular girl that has been winning the, the adult or the older version, like he had been, that he had set his sights on her, that he had gone to digitest 4 years in a row, she had won, that this year he wants to beat that. I'm just like, my brother. Now, to show you how serious the competition was, or how much that girl had won, that it wasn't even feeling like a competition anymore, midway into digitest, she just decides to drop. So she was about 16, but she just decides to drop out and become a facilitator, which was against the rules, because facilitators, I think, had to be about 18. But because of how just everybody knew, like, oh God, if this babe competes again, she's going to win. So I guess it was a loophole that was created, and, they just took it. The organizers just took it. So this, my guy, my team, just came alive. He's like, whoa, she's off. We have a chance to win. So he just was on the ground. He didn't even allow us to contribute to the project. Gone. Like, if I tell you, I don't remember what I presented, because he saw that I could speak well. So he's like, do you know what? You're going to be presenter. The other two, because we're 4 per group, he's like, the other 2 girls, they're just going to have their name co-signed. They don't need to do anything. My brother did not allow for teamwork at all. He just was doing his kiniko and blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, he's like, all right, so this is what we've done. You just go present it. I don't know what I was thinking, but he suggested something very crazy, very silly. And I agreed. He was like, so when you're done presenting, you tell everybody, God, I'm so embarrassed. He's like, when you're done presenting, you tell everybody to touch the person, or to hold hands with the person by their right and by their left. And then you say, so he tells me what to say. So on that day, I finished presenting, I finished doing the things. God, shame. I was about to say, no, shame cannot wear me cloak. Shame cannot wear me garments. But, yeah. That day, I finished presenting spirit to spirit. I'm speaking my English, just a blow. Then at the end, I'm like, and now I want you all to hold the person by your right. And then they did. And I'm like, and now I want you to please touch the person by your left. God. And then they did. And I'm like, serious face, so very earnest. And I'm like, and now I know, God, I'm so shy. Stop. And now I know that you've all been touched by my speech. Thank you very much. As per touch the person by your leg, you've all been touched by my speech. You will not believe. Everybody burst into crazy applause. They're like, that is the most impressive thing they've ever heard. The judges, they almost stand up. They're like, oh, this is good. Hey, the bar is in a sockaway pit. The bar is under the ground. Because why were they impressed by that rubbish? As a 27-year-old now, I'm like, hey, vomit. As like a 13, 14-year-old, I was like, eight. Everybody eight. But yeah, so that's what happened. That's him. That was him. We've all been touched by my speech. Oh my God. I'm thinking, and I don't think I really had like many points in being a teenager that were like that. Like, I'm like, oh, I felt not just empowered, or not like I felt empowered to do stuff. I actually was empowered to do stuff. And I realized that there's this thing that we do. I think we do it with children a lot, maybe this part of the world. And it's just this thing of like, except a child proves to you already that they're exceptional. So if you check, maybe a child comes back from school and they're reading faster than usual, or they just show signs of being like, you go for open day and your teacher is like, oh, he's better at math than the rest of his classmates and everything. So that's when you start to take note of like, okay, maybe this child, we can invest more into or we can aim for more with them and stuff. But I find that a lot of parents, this part of the world, don't necessarily have like high expectations of their children. Not high expectations. There are high expectations in that, like, oh, take first position, do this one, do that one. There's that. But you know that thing of like, so for example, small example, but I started reading to Ada when she was like 2 months old, maybe or under. And one reason I started doing that was because I started trying to just see, okay, what can children, what is actually going on in their brains. I think that period before she started babbling, like between 0 to 5 months, was very confusing for me because like all she would do was cry and look at me. And I was just like, okay, but what is going on in her brain? What can she do? What can she, like, because I had already known that, okay, children can perceive your emotions. But I'm like, okay, what else? Is there anything that I can actually be doing to maybe have her, make her have a better time? Or just like build her brain activity, and especially as a first time mom, gosh, she'll be anxious. I was in a group chat with people that were like, oh, they can read zigzag pattern, draw zigzag pattern for them. They can do this one. Okay, they can't see color yet, but they can do black and white. You can do muted color. Like, it was just like so much information to take in. Okay, they can let them start feeling sensory play, this one, that one. So I guess I took what I could, and I bought her books and I started reading to her. And I think it started developing just her ability not to speak first, but like to respond to stuff, to respond to like auditory, stimulus. Because I noticed that at some point, and she was still very young, maybe like 6, 7 months. And, I would be reading her book to her and she would know when the end is coming, for example, not by looking at me flipping, but because she knew the words. And so I'm like, I would have never guessed that a 7-month-old baby would be able to like recognize speech patterns already and all those things. And so now she's about a year and like 2 months and she's talking. Like she's talking. She's not saying sentences quite yet, but like if you're having a conversation with Ada, if there's a word that she can pick out, if there's a word that's easy, like we're in church, and one of our people on Sunday, there's like a running joke in my church, my particular like church campus, church branch, and it's like power, and all that. And so there's one particular person that's how he greets everybody. If you call his name, he will respond power and all that. So then he did that, and he had done that consistently, and so Ada had been seeing him, and so this day he says like power, and then she's like power, and everybody in the room stops. Eh? She sees this one that's talking, and every time it makes me so proud because I'm like, but yeah, my baby knows her numbers, my baby knows her alphabet, my baby knows words, my baby knows. I'm so proud of my baby. But it's like little things like that. And so when like things like music, right? Things like just stuff that children can actually learn. I think we wait until they're like much, except children that like either grew up with like musical maestro parents or children that just happen to grow up in church where they were like exposed to choir rehearsals and all the behind the scenes. When I was in university, I met a lot of people that were instrumentalists, and I'm like, okay, when did you learn? And they're like, oh, following my mom to church, and she was in choir, and I would go to sit by the drummer or this or that. So I found, because I had this really bright idea to learn bass guitar. It didn't work. I couldn't do the motions. Physically, it was hard. I feel like it's harder to learn some of these things when you're, older. But yeah, I don't know why I started. Well, Digitest made me remember how it felt like to actually like be empowered, because this was like a big stage, a whole lot of people, thousands of people, and I was able to speak to them, and I'm like, I have teenage brothers, can they do that? The random teenagers that I meet, like, is that something that they will consider too big for them? And it's like, even my apostle, my lead pastor, he was talking about how the first time that he spoke as well, he was a teenager and it was like a church service and he had to preach or something. They'll have me special program. And I'm just like, these are the things, like, just like make our kids do stuff so that they can be like great at stuff. And then they can now like do very much stuff and like more stuff. And it's like, let's make children do stuff. But yeah, I said all that to say that life is great. Keep dreaming. And Yeah, and still, even in addition to like making children or exposing them to just more things. I know that the country is hard, and even if you're outside Nigeria, I know that life is hard, and it's very easy to get settled in our boxes. And for us, many times, routine is required. Like, I was at home recently, in July. And by home, I mean like where my family is, my parents and my siblings. And I was with my sister, and I remember her just, because for her that was a vacation. For me, not so much because I went for a wedding. But she was there. Like I said, I think I said it on this podcast before. She was there with her kids, and she just really wanted to come to her mommy's house and sleep and rest and all that. And I'm like, okay, good and fine. But these children, they're experiencing life for the first time. She has two sons. I think they're about 8 and 6. And so we had said or hinted or, I think we had mentioned that, okay, we're going to go to the park, Magic Land, if you know Abuja. And so it was like an amusement park, and these boys got super excited and all of that. And then that day comes, and she's just like, I want to rest. I want to lie down. And I'm like, this thing will not mean anything to you. Just this thing of these boys not going to play or not going to enter a ride that has no impact on them, or so you think. Like, it's not that deep. If you think about it, you're burning fuel, you're spending money, you're spending time that you could spend sleeping. But in their heads, like, you're sleeping every day. Like, it's not, and I know that, of course, there has to be some balance between like self-care and parenting. But children hardly remember the part of parenting that feels like work. And I know that is unfair. And maybe I can only afford to say this because my child is still young, even though she's already, God, this girl is the most active 1 year old I've ever met. Some days I just want to weep. Like, by the time my husband comes back to find me almost dry bones, I'm like, please, I can't even speak. I just open the door for him and I go inside and lie down for like 30 minutes before I can come and be a human being again. So I get it. But unfortunately, children don't remember all of the parts of their childhood that have felt like work for you. They only remember the parts that have felt like fun or good or useful for them. So like, you can be doing all the things, all the laundry, all the school runs, all the like cooking, like you can actually be doing all the things, and they're going to remember, oh, when I was 8 years old, I went to Magic Land and I did the most dangerous ride ever, and I still remember it till today. Like, look at me talking about digitests. Like, my parents could have decided to save their money that summer. It was 12 days. How many 12 days have passed since then? I'm 27 years old. I was maybe 13 or 14 years. Let me actually calculate it. Yeah, 2012 was 13 years ago. So I was 14 years old. Many things have happened since then, but digitest is a memory that I don't think will go away. And so it's like, both in terms of like exposing them to actual better opportunities. Some of it will cost money, some won't, but everywhere that you can, I think, please try to, like, your children are not enduring life with you. They are in, if there's any part of your life that is supposed to feel like a ride, it's childhood. So don't put your sand inside their gari, if you get what I mean. For my non-Nigerian audience, actually, man, I'm too Nigerian. Because I was about to say, for my non-Nigerian audience, don't use your own to spoil their own. But that's still very Nigerian. Yeah, no, but don't let what you're going through, make them have a bad time, if you get what I mean. But yeah, please, I beg, help them, help them, help them. Let's not raise children with fatigue. And there's so much fatigue in the world right now. There's so much fatigue. There's so much fatigue. There's so much fatigue. Like, there's actually so much fatigue. But please, let's not raise children with fatigue. Amen. Amen. That's it for today. That's it for today. That's it for this episode. And I will speak to you. When will I speak to you? Next Friday, guys. You got it. You got it, my men and babes. I'll speak to you next Friday. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post. Leave a comment, do the things, kiss your mommy if you're not married. If you're married, kiss your husband or your wife. If you're not married, kiss your Bible. All right? Don't kiss don't kiss about I will squeeze you like a kinky. If you know that TikTok, I'm so sorry. If you know it, I'm so sorry. I will squeeze you like a kinky. But otherwise, Thank you, men and babes. I will speak to you next week. I love you. Signing out. Bye.